We're going to start by introducing our hosts of this panel. This panel is being presented by Women in Cinematography and the Imago Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And so we're going to start with a welcome from Women in Cinematography. On behalf of that organization is Vika Savragina.
Hi, everybody. This is very impressive. Welcome. My name is Vika Savragina, and I am part of the market development team at IWCC, and also one of the founding members of Women in Cinematography. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the genesis of Women in Cinematography Collective. It started out as basically a bunch of women cinematographers and industry people that were recognizing the lack of representation at Camerimage, women representation at Camerimage, and we decided to start a petition, and we thought that we would just do that. And then it very gradually but organically evolved into this amazing collective that we are now, which is comprised of over 52 worldwide organizations of filmmakers, women cinematographers, not just cinematographers, and it's growing. And so we're just now sort of addressing the growth and figuring out what, even though Camerimage is over and petition is over, I mean, the petition is still there, but basically we have now evolved into way more than just let's collect signatures and talk about Camerimage and change Camerimage. It has now evolved into, wait a minute, we have this amazing collective of organizations that's worldwide, and everybody wants to participate and wants to do something, wants to make a difference, make a change. We have power in numbers. And so we are growing. We have a lot of plans. We're going to be doing a lot of events like this in person, at festivals, at trade shows, at different industry events all around the world in upcoming years. So please watch us on our Instagram page. We are launching a website, and we have big plans. We just, this was new, this was not planned, but we're all very happy it happened the way it happened. So welcome, and look for more of these kind of events and hopefully changes. So have a good time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vika. And next we have Bojana Andrić from Serbia, who is a DOP and is also welcoming us today on behalf of Imago.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you, Jendra, for this effort for good pronouncing my name. It's Bojana. I'm a Serbian cinematographer. I'm Vice President of Serbian Society of Cinematographers, and I'm also co-Vice President of Imago, which is International Federation of Cinematographer Societies. Imago is established more than 30 years ago in Italy by Luciano Tavoli, and it was first only European Federation, but now Imago is World International Federation, and we are at the moment with 58 countries, full members and associates. And important things about Imago is that we have a lot of committees. We have 7 active committees. Among them, Diversity Inclusion Committee is the one that I'm also chairing at the moment. Diversity Inclusion Committee was established in 2016, and here we are in 2025, still here, so it means that we still have some job to do. It means that we are not yet redundant to disappear. So let's please make an effort so we disappear. We don't need this committee anymore. Actually, Elen Lotman will be in name of Imago Diversity and Inclusion Committee tonight as a panelist, and she's also one of the founders of the committee together with Nina Kellgren. And she has a very rich experience. So I hope you will enjoy, and I'm very excited to see all of you here. And thank you for this.
Thank you, Bojana, and thank you for hosting for us and being able to have this wonderful opportunity to all come together from around the world. I'm really excited for International Women's Day this year, and to have such an international gathering of people is very exciting. So with that, I will start by introducing our first panelist. Meredith Emmanuel is, well, actually, you know what? Hold on, I'm going to start over. I have a fun idea where we're each going to read the bio of someone else. So instead of me reading everyone's bios, which are boring, or instead of people introducing themselves, which I think people are probably too modest and humble when talking about their own accomplishments, I'm going to have panelists read the bio of one of the other panelists. So I'll start. I'm going to start with Meredith Emmanuel. Meredith Emmanuel founded EB Comms in 1998 with the vision of providing strategic, cost-effective public relations services to creative clients in the field of arts and sciences. With more than 40 years experience in film, television, radio, music, and media, she has built an impressive network of valuable relationships. Focusing on behind-the-camera public relations, she has successfully executed numerous client award campaigns for the Academy Awards, Creative Arts Emmys, and Guild-specific awards. In addition, she has helped grow the careers of creative artists by highlighting their achievements and expanding their individual networks. She's a proud member of the Television Academy and the International Cinematographers Guild Local 600. Ooh, you're still muted, Meredith.
There we go. Technologically challenged. I'm going to read Ellen's bio. Ellen's one of our spirit animals who leads us along with Aga, who is not here today. But Elen Lotman.
Aga is here. I saw Aga here. Aga is
She
here.
is great. Great, great, great. I want to actually read out something she wrote later on. Elen Lotman, ESC, has shot numerous full-length feature and short films, both fiction and documentary, also commercials, virtual exhibitions, and music videos. She's filmed in Japan, Tibet, China, India, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Lapland, Albania, and the Russian Arctic Kola Peninsula, among many other countries. I think she's a little bit well-traveled. Her films have been awarded and selected to competition programs of A-class film festivals, such as the Black Nights Film Festival, the IFFI in Goa, India, the Moscow Film Festival, and prestigious specialized festivals such as the Independent Documentary Feature Association, Tampere, Camera Image, and the Monarchy Film Festival. Her film, Goodnight Soviet Union, was nominated for the Camera Image Golden Frog and won the Black Nights Film Festival. She has served as a head of the film department in Tallinn University, Baltic Film and Media School, where she currently teaches. Together with Nina Kellgren, BSc, she founded the Imago Diversity and Inclusion Committee in 2016, and the same year they joined forces with Illuminatrix to initiate the first ever diversity event at Camera Image. Ellen has also served as a co-president of the International Federation of Cinematographers, Imago, and currently serves as the president of the Estonian Society of Cinematographers. Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you, Meredith. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. So I'm going to read the bio of our next panelist. Shaden Dia is an LA-based cinematographer specializing in fine art and community organizing. Her surreal imagery and dynamic lighting celebrate Black beauty, earning her recognition as an ASC Rising Star by American Cinematographer. She works with Made in Her Image, a nonprofit empowering women and non-binary youth of color in film and media, partnering with Panavision, A24, and Sundance. Represented by the Gersh Agency, her work has appeared in the LA Times, Netflix Strong Black Lens, and she's lensed projects for companies like BET, Disney, Hooray, and NBC. Shade's crafted vibrant commercial campaigns for brands like Nike, Google, Delta, and Ford. Her film, Soñadora, premiered at Tribeca and streams on Amazon Prime, while her NAACP nominated My Brother and Me premiered at the American Black Film Festival and is now on American Airlines flights. Her latest video installation, Reimaging Black, was exhibited at Waco Theatre Center, curated by Tina Knowles Lawson. Welcome.
Hey, thank you so much, Ellen. So excited to be here celebrating women behind the camera. I'm going to be introducing the lovely Amber Thompson. Amber Thompson is an agent and partner at WPA. She was named one of Hollywood's new leaders by Variety in 2015. Originally from the US, Amber moved to the UK in 2017 and now leads the narrative department in the London office, looking after producers and heads of departments for both feature films and TV episodic productions. Beginning in 2012, Thompson played an integral role in expanding WPA's TV department into a separate division. Recently, she's focused on the global film marketplace, working with overseas production entities and clients. Welcome, Amber.
Thank you, Tade. Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me. Really appreciate it. So yeah, I am going to be introducing very talented Pooja Gupte. Pooja Gupte, ISC, IWCC, is a Mumbai-based cinematographer and founder of the Flair Cinematography Film Festival. An SRFTI alumna, selected by the Berlinale Talent Campus, and a member of Imago's Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Her debut, Crossing Bridges, won the National Award in 2014. She also earned Best Cinematography for Rook at AIFF 2018. Her work includes Panchek, Silence 2, and the Netflix original. She's given me the okay to say the American version of this, Long Live Brij Mohan. And yes, she has been recently nominated for Best Cinematography for Panchek.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you so much for. I know it's difficult to pronounce all these names, but thank you. Hi everyone. I'm going to introduce Ava Benjamin Shorr. Ava Benjamin Shorr is a director of photography whose work is influenced by the fine art, skate videos, Magic the Gathering cards, and the art house film. Her most recent credit is 2 a.m. Killer Films, Omni Loops. It screened at South by Southwest 2024. Magnolia, produced by Magnolia Pictures, starring Ayo Edinburgh and Mary Louise Parker. Her other credits include Fanatical, The Catfish of Tigran and Sarah, which screened at TIFF in 2024. It's on Hulu. Disclosure, which screened at Sundance in 2020. It's on Netflix. Equal for HBO Max. Ava was named as 2024 Rising Star of Cinematography by American Society of Cinematographers and was included on Variety's 10 cinematographers to watch out list. She also co-hosts the popular Cinematography Solo podcast. Welcome, Eva. I hope I did justice to your introduction.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to introduce Carolyn Giardina. God, I moved my second screen. Carolyn Giardina is a senior entertainment technology and crafts editor at Variety, following more than a decade at The Hollywood Reporter. Earlier, she wrote for Shoot, Film and Video, the IBC Daily, and SMPTE Motion Imaging Journal.
Ava Benjamin Shorr, what's up?
Please.
Carolyn has been honored with the International Cinematographers Guild Technicolor William A. Fraker Award for journalistic contributions in cinematography, American Cinema Editors Robert Wise Award for journalistic contributions to film editing, the Advanced Imaging Society's Distinguished Leadership Lumiere Award, and Women in Technology Hollywood Leadership Award. She is a frequent conference speaker and moderator who has served on numerous industry boards, committees, and award juries, including 2 decades on the HPA Board of Directors, during which time she co-founded the HPA Awards. She lectures at Chapman University and co-authored a book about stereoscopic 3D filmmaking titled Exploring 3D. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Ava, for that great introduction. And it's great to see everybody. Thank you for including me, Jendra. I am introducing the wonderful Maria Sarasvati Herrera. She is a French-Mexican cinematographer born in Mexico City who has built a visually stimulating and impressive body of work. Her main inspiration is art and nature. Premiering at Sundance in 2020, her second film, Summer White, was one of the New York Times best films in the festival and won Best Film and Best Director in the Malaga Film Festival. Her latest series, Apple's Women in Blue and Netflix's highly anticipated 100 Years of Solitude, were worldly reviewed as visually stunning by top critics and reviews. Her latest film, The Muleteer, won Best Cinematography at the Guadalajara Film Festival and is nominated in the Vilmos Zsigmond Festival. Maria considers herself a feminist and a proud working mother. I'm so happy to introduce her.
Thank you so much. I'm very, very honored to be sharing this panel with you. I'm going to introduce Jendra Jarnagin. Jendra Jarnagin's work in scripted television includes It's East New York for Warner Brothers Television on CBS and season 4 of Emily in Paris for Paramount on Netflix. She is also known for her work on the action thriller Asking for It, a 2021 Tribeca Film Festival selection released theatrically by Paramount in March 2022. The bold and stylistic female vigilante thriller earned Jendra praise in IndieWire and Variety. Her work has been showcased at the Whitney Museum, the UN, and numerous film festivals worldwide, including Sundance, Tribeca, and Camerimage, as well as TV series for ABC, Fox, PBS, and Hulu, and ad campaigns for Maybelline, Estée Lauder, Adidas, Canon, and Lincoln. At the start of her career, Jendra's passion for lighting led her to work as a gaffer and an electrician as a side job for 10 years, working on projects such as Sex and the City, Law and Order, Analyze That, and Vanilla Sky. Jendra's work and love of travel has brought her to 27 countries. Amazing. She enjoys sharing her experiences and inspiring others as a speaker, panelist, and instructor all over the world. Amazing, Jendra.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone joining us today. I mean, there's so many other people on this Zoom who I wish that I could have as panelists. And I hope you're all excited to learn about the amazing women that we have taking part in today's panel discussion. So I want to kick it off with a 3-part introduction for each of you, a question to each of the panelists. And also, I'm going to post this question in the chat because I invite the rest of you participating if you also want to answer these questions in the chat. What do you want people to know about you besides what we may have just learned about you in your bio? What are you passionate about or what inspires you? And tell us something interesting, quirky, or obscure about yourself that has nothing to do with your career. So I'm going to repeat that. Actually, I'm not going to repeat it because I posted it in the chat, even though I have a typo in the chat. But I think you'll know what I mean. So any panelists, go ahead. What do you want people to know about you? What are you passionate about? And what's something fun that has nothing to do with your work? Who wants to go first? All right, if you guys are not going to jump in, I'm going to have to call on you. Meredith, I see you've unmuted yourself. Go ahead. Actually, will the rest of the panelists unmute yourself so that we can answer more quickly without having to, yes, the rest of the panelists, please stay unmuted, but the rest, yeah, there we go.
Is that
We don't hear
really, really care about artists. And I love working with cinematographers and people behind the camera. I love the creative work you do. It makes me get out of bed every day and it really excites me. And this group in particular has just lifted me up and re-inspired me about the industry. So I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about women in cinematography and what we can accomplish together. Quirky, obscure. I live in the Australian bush. I'm a volunteer firefighter. And I love horses.
Perfect. I love that.
Love it.
Come on, you guys, answer. I don't have to call on people. Let's go.
I'm gonna jump in because Meredith mentioned that she loves horses, and the quirky thing about me is that I can actually plow with the horse, you know, old style.
Wow.
My parents are biologists, and my father taught us to plow with the horse. So I started from the third question. I don't know why. It's just the horse took me off. I have ADHD, and I also have a PhD, so it rhymes well. My PhD is connected with neuroscience, so I have been researching how audience empathizes with the characters. Oh, it's actually connected to my career. Sorry, it's how audience empathizes with the characters through cinematography. I also have 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy, which in a way is connected to my career because I think they're part of who I am since they came to this world. What I am passionate about is obviously today here. I grew up in a family where there really wasn't any difference between the way I was treated, whether you were a boy or a girl, and I always felt that I could choose my own path. So somehow, when I grew up, I started realizing that this is not the state of the world, which actually came to me as a surprise because I have quoted this anecdote many times, but there is this joke that there are 2 little young fish are floating in the sea, and then an older fish comes and says, "Hi guys, how's water?" And they say, "Yes, water's good," and they swim along, and then one of the young fish asks from the other, "What's water?" So for me, it was a little bit like this. I grew up in a household where there was no difference, so for me it was such a natural thing that I didn't even consider choosing my job. That I have to take this in account. So I was in this kind of what's water situation for the longest time, and then once I understood that, I suddenly entered an industry without knowing. And recently, I come from a very small country. Estonia is 1.3 million, so many of your countries have cities that have have more people in one district. But recently, one of Estonian film historians told me that still now, I'm still the only Estonian female cinematographer shooting feature films, more than 100 years, which makes me even more passionate to change this, not only here but globally. And yeah, I think it's also something that I want people to know about me. I'm always very optimistic. sometimes it's to an embarrassing degree, but I think it's the only way. It's the only way. Otherwise, if we really look at the stats and the numbers, we can just fall into a dark hole. But I believe that the change is going to come from the next generation. So what we have to do is just give them a chance to really make the world a different place. And there is a very funny story I have been, because I mentioned my kids. I'm gonna wrap it up quickly. When my oldest daughter was, I think she was 4, we had a male president in Estonia, Toomas Hendrik Ilves. And then my daughter once said to me, "If I grow up, I want to become a first lady." I was devastated. I said, "You don't have to become a first lady, you can become a president." And then a couple of years later, fast forward, we had a female president in Estonia, Kersti Kaljulaid. And 2 of my friends have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. The girl, I think she was 6 and the boy was 3. And one evening they have a discussion and the girl says, "When I grow up, I want to become a president." And then her little brother said, "When I grow up, I also want to become a president." And then the older sister looks at him and says, "Boy president, weird." So in her life, the only thing she knew was a female president. I'm not saying that the boys shouldn't be presidents. Everybody should be presidents if they want to. The main thing is you should be president only to do good. And that's it about me.
Love it. Ellen, I love what you're talking about, just like origins, because I feel like our roots really influence like who we are as cinematographers. And I think that kind of leads into my own personal statement. I think the boldest thing about me that I want people to know is that I come from Caribbean descent. My family is from Belize, and I grew up in a small village where everybody knows everybody, but it's just like a beautiful place and a great source of inspiration where the sun is always shining and the water is always clear. And I think that's really transitioned into what I'm passionate about telling in terms of storytelling as well. I was able to lens a few short films about my Caribbean American heritage, and it allowed me to really feel, one, seen as an artist, but also just put us more on the map, because not many people even know where Belize is on the map. I highly recommend for all y'all's vacations if y'all need some time away from America, or wherever y'all may be. But I think just moving forward, I just want to really prioritize that with my practice. And even I did a short film recently here. We were trying to bring Jamaica to LA and we had to cheat a lot of it in the lighting. We had a coral filter on our lens, just trying to bring that warmth, but nothing beats that authentic warmth of the Caribbean. So that's a big part of my personal identity and practice. And I would say something random about me that's just not film related is I just love cooking. I've been really into like health and wellness and the vegan cooking, like how you could cook mushrooms like meat. I really highly recommend because it just helps your energy for set as well.
Awesome. Carolyn.
Okay. Hi. I'm actually going to combine questions number 1 and 2 because this is a question people ask me. Yes, I am a journalist. I have been passionate about film my entire life. I love film, and I love covering this industry. I love getting to know the people in this industry. I love supporting the people in this industry. And that's a real passion of mine, absolutely. And then the thing that not too many people know about me, I earned a black belt in karate. I've been athletic my whole life. I can't do everything I used to be able to do, but what I would say about that is having started doing that as a teenager was an experience that I would recommend to anybody because aside from learning the actual moves, but learning, confidence and learning how to learn, I think are things that I've carried with me my whole life. So great experience, I'd recommend.
Pooja.
Yeah, in my head, I'm just thinking how each of us has something in common, like when Ellen was talking about her children, I was like, I have a 4-year-old who's continuously, who thinks mama only works outside and doesn't do anything in the home because he's like, I have to see you working. What do you really do? And since he's 4 years old, it's very difficult for me to take him on sets because most of the time you're shooting sync sound. But yeah, that's my next thing. I think I'm going to take him to the set. I have as a child played taekwondo, and there was this one funny competition I remember. My first sparring, and I ended up kicking head on to the opponent, and the opponent was just unconscious in a go. And I remember then losing all my concentration and not being able to play anymore. So I think all of us in some way have very common grounds. We all have been rooted to our own cultures. But at the same time, I feel so compassionate about cinematography. I met Bojana in Serbia, and we had a very long chat when I went to shoot there about how women are, more and more women are practicing cinematography all over the world, and somehow the stories are so aligned. When I started, there were very, very less women who I knew are practicing cinematography. But today in India, we have a collective called Indian Women Cinematographers Collective. There are about 200 women now who we know are practicing cinematography in India, and we are all connected to each other. And but what I felt while doing so also that, people know, like my film, which was the first, it's actually the first Netflix original in India. People know the film, people know the director, but they did not know who has shot it. And I realized that we need a platform for cinematographers because, all the festivals in India, there are a lot of festivals. There's IFI, of course, and there is IFFK and a lot of festivals, but they celebrate directors, actors, and producers, which is good. I'm not saying it's bad, but I also feel that it's important to discuss the craft of cinematography. And I became part of Women in Cinematography, and I saw so many women so passionately talking about cameraman, Jarmanaki brothers, and I realized maybe it's time that India also has a festival in India celebrating cinematography, and which also puts Indian cinematographers on world map. Just not one or two films that go to Berlinale or Cannes or because there's so much good work happening, and we have a big industry. We have about 28 states. Every state has its own language. They have their own film industry. Then there's one main Bollywood, which a lot of people know outside. But there's a lot of work that happens, and I really hope the festival that I'm trying to put together grows. It's called Flair Cinematography Film Festival. I had about 3 events, one panel and 2 workshops. I got incredible response. We had 110 registrations for where I had about 30 slots, and a panel which had 100 seating. They have 200 people turned out. So, I mean, it's interesting, and it's at the same time very inspiring to be in a group of all these women who've been continuously talking about how to uplift cinematography and just the craft, and then at the same time doing something in India which means something. And I've been getting a lot of support from Indian Society of Cinematographers and IWCC, Indian Women Cinematographers Collective. They all drop by, they all support me, and it's incredible to see how things are changing here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Maria, you're still muted.
Yeah. Sorry, my AirPods. Okay. So I love India. I know it's not a lot in common, but my mom lived there for 7 years. So we all have Indian names. That's why my second name is Sarasvati. I come from a family of artists. So for me, it's very hard to say something about me that is not related to it. Because, in my family, since I grew up, it was like, who are you and how's your art related to you? It's like part of who you are. So everyone is like kind of maybe hyperactive, because when they're not creating something, they get nervous and anxious and they don't know what to do with themselves. So for me, my family is very important. I love also family stories, and I think most of my work and a lot of my work has to do with that. This is my father's painting, and I also brought up my brother's mask. He's a sculptor, he makes masks. And my sister is a soprano. And well, what else? I'm very into art. Every time I work for a project, the first thing I do is try to watch not other films, sometimes, a lot of other films and projects, but especially paintings, sculpture, still photography, music, or whatever, you know, whatever works for inspiring the project. I'm very interested in everything that is related to traveling in time, which means doing any project that requires me to investigate, to research, to imagine that I'm somewhere else. Sometimes I become like a method cinematographer, which is not so good. I work a lot on myself because I'm very intense when I'm working. And what else? So yeah, it's like something dark. I wouldn't consider it dark, but is that I'm very interested in the afterlife, both scientifically and spiritually and culturally, and that's something I always end up talking about, no, in my projects. Right now, I'm doing a film. I'm about to do a film about death. It's part of all the, you know, all a travel a woman makes to find her daughter who died 2 years ago. So I've been working with that a lot. But for me, it's not a dark thing, because I consider that to be a light thing, because everybody's going there, you know. So yeah, I that's something that I never share. It's like a secret. And what else? I think that's it. Very
Great.
honored to be here.
Thank you.
Love that.
Ava.
Can we-
Yeah, I relate a lot to what Maria was saying. I feel like we would have fun hanging out. I love fine art. I love going to museums. I have a ton of like art books and photography books. I just find that really inspiring. I love science. I watch science videos on YouTube a lot. I also I love light. You know, stereotypical DP thing. And I don't know, I'm really passionate about cinematography. I think I have a terrible work-life balance and I get obsessed about it. So yeah, and then let's see something interesting about me. I don't know, it's in my bio. I play Magic the Gathering, the trading card game. If you play it, hit me up.
I've
Super
never played
nerdy.
that. Oh my god.
Super nerdy.
I love it.
Amber.
Yes, hi. So yeah, obviously I'm not a cinematographer. I am an agent. I'm American based in London. So I've been here about close to 8 years now. And so yeah, I mean, I could go into my journey, or we could leave that to later when we're talking about all that stuff. I'll just tell you guys what is I find super exciting, and I'm drawn to stories and all the ways we tell them. So I love films and TV shows, of course, but I love stand-up comedy, and I do love like slam poetry, and I'll go to concerts of all sorts, but yeah, I find inspiration in other ways we tell stories as well, because I also think it's just you find great inspiration there. So I guess that's my passion, but I love helping people find scripts that they love and projects that they're sort of, I feel like they were always meant to shoot. And I also really like connecting filmmakers, so DPs with directors. That's and producers. I mean, that's just, to me, that gets me up in the morning, gets me excited. So that's me. I guess my obscure piece of information is I was a swimmer. So I call myself a swammer. That's me. And sometimes I still do it, but like sometimes I dive in and I get right back out because I'm allowed to now. So there you go.
Awesome. I was actually gonna, just to move the conversation ahead, since we're already 45 minutes into our panel, I was gonna skip the question that everyone gets asked all the time about, you know, how did you get your start and what was your journey to getting where you are? Because I think we've already heard about your bios, and there's so many things that I want to talk about that's more about community and things that I think are more personal to today's topic. But before I move on there, is there, you know, in the introducing of yourselves, is there anything that you wanted to say? Because Amber, you said that you would wait until we got to that question. I'm actually thinking I'm going to skip that question. So about your journey, and the rest of you don't feel compelled to answer that if unless there was anything that we missed because you were counting on being asked that question separately.
Well, I'll just highlight, I didn't go to film school. I don't have any family in the industry. I just worked my way up. And I mean, and yeah, now I refer to myself kind of as an immigrant because I do tend to I don't see myself necessarily moving back. So if I was an expat, then I would definitely be going back. But I see this as being my long-term home. But I think in the UK, but I guess the thing I was going to say is just I really value everybody's different paths and journeys. I don't think everybody has to follow the same road, the roadmap. So just wanted to make sure I mentioned that for everybody.
Cool. Next, I'd like to talk about community, because I think that's the nature of what brought us all here together and how we know who each other are. And then there's a lot of other people joining the conversation that we've all reached through our various relationships to community. So I'd like to hear from each of the panelists, you know, what does community mean to you? And how do you see your relationship to community? And I'd like to hear about any organizations that you may be involved in, or even I know many of you were a part of launching or starting an organization, including, you know, podcasts and mentorship. And then also, how can our audience learn more about your organizations or become more involved? So drop your organizations in the chat, whether that's your websites or your Instagrams, et cetera. So Sade, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to.
You look all jazzed up by that question, and that's why I asked you to be on this panel, is because of you with mentorship and.
Yeah. I mean, mentorship is such a big part of my practice, and it's very rooted in passing the baton, because there were so many women that went out of their way to bring me up when I was coming up as a cinematographer, like similar to Amber. I went to film school briefly, but I didn't stay for that much longer because there wasn't a lot of folks who looks like me, and also just a lot of access for me to really get my hands dirty, like learn how to build the camera on my own terms. And like I was always like kind of peeking behind shoulders trying to get immersed into the class system. And so a lot of what I learned about cameras, about being a cinematographer, was on set and in the work field and through mentorship. And there was this program called the JTC list. They did this program where they partnered me up with another cinematographer who was already in television, and her name is Julie Kirkwood. And she was such a big light for me personally. When I was coming up, I was able to ask her a lot of very specific questions, and she just like treated me with so much kindness and support through my career, and that helped me step up. And so a big part of my own personal process was doing the same thing for other younger women coming up. And I work with this nonprofit called Made in Her Image, and we just recently got a grant from Converse to put together a film camp for young women of color to learn about making a film, which was super inspiring. And just seeing how specific these young girl stories were was super impactful. And it was kind of like a simulated film school situation where they wrote and produced and shot their own scripts. And so they were crewing up within their own communities. And it was just a beautiful moment just to see like the younger generation come together, because there were these were a lot of resources I didn't have coming up in cinematography. And so that's just a big part of my practice. And if anybody in the chat, I see so many amazing cinematographers as well that could be incredible educators for the next generation. Feel free to tap in with Made in Her Image for future programming. Yes. I would love to hear from Ava about her podcast too. I listen to your podcast all the time. I have it in the background. I'm always taking notes. I feel like that's helped me so much as an image maker, and just like I just love cinematographers talking about the process, and also just the empathetic like part of the process as well. I love how you kind of mix the technical with story in terms of your organizing.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends that say to me that they like feel like they're hanging out with me more because they have my voice on in the background.
I love it. Yeah.
Which is a little strange, but you know. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if what I can specifically say about the podcast other than yeah, I guess that is sort of a in a sense a very loose community for me, in a a way that I sort of like curate the way that information about cinematography sort of like gets dispersed throughout I guess our industry and network, because I think that you know uh it's a really complicated thing with like sort of the little mini industry that is like um you know, influencers and like cinematographers and like kind of like mini tech bros that are, reviewing the FX3 on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's a little like homogenous to the point of being off-putting, like it just there's kind of they all use the same music and they all have the same vibe, and it often just feels like, I guess when I was coming up, because I didn't study cinematography, I went to a very crappy kind of like commuter school that had a film college, but that had a film school. um uh and when I was trying to like gather information, it was always just like this strange dissonance between who I was and then the people that were like distributing the information. And I guess that there's nothing inherently wrong with that, other than that, like in the podcast, I wanted to be something different. And I wanted to try and have an approach that was a lot more balanced and nuanced, and didn't have any affectation of sort of like masculinity, or sort of like kind of an in vibe. Like I really wanted it to be more about personal philosophies, artistic practices, kind of get deeper, and as opposed to just like doing like, hey, like so and so has a new film, let's talk about the film. Like I wanted to go deeper. Yeah, and I guess like another thing that is kind of an interesting aspect of my life, like I guess I have a really strange relationship with community. Sometimes I envy other sort of like marginalized communities because there's a seemingly more of a coherence to them. Like I'm part of like the trans community and like the LGBT community, and it's, especially for trans people, it's such a fluid community. People come in and out of it based on their own you know comfort level, and you get people that will transition for 2 years and you'll see them and then they'll basically want to live like stealth, and then they like disappear forever. So it's kind of a weird community to be a part of, and then it feels very like sort of like it comes together in times of hardship and then it sort of like fragments and like breaks apart. So ever since like the Trump administration has come into power, like there's been a lot more of a coalescing of the community that wasn't there before, which is really nice, but it's sad that it took this to get people to like start like hanging out with each other more and like talking. So I don't know, I have sort of a sadness about that community, but that the larger LGBT community at large is a lot more organized, and I'm a part of that too, so yeah.
Carolyn, I've seen you, and I realized when I read your bio that I knew you from when you were writing for Shoot magazine. So, when Meredith was helping me organize and come up with the concept for this panel, she advocated strongly that it not just be cinematographers, that the cinematography community was so much bigger and greater than just the individuals doing the work, and I'm going to ask Meredith to talk about that when we call on her. But I'm starting by calling out you, because when Meredith said that and said that, you know, that you would make a great addition for our panel today, I was so excited by the idea of having you. And then when you said yes, I was so excited that you joined us, because when I think of the cinematography community and myself being an, you know, outgoing person who does a lot of in-person networking, you are probably the most consistent person that I've been seeing around at events in the community for over 20 years. So when I think of community, I think of Carolyn Giardina. So.
When I think of community, I think of you, and I think of Meredith, and I think a lot of you too, because you're all there and you're constantly contributing. And Meredith has, you know, you have done so much to help me find, you know, cinematographers for all sorts of, you know, events and things, and, you know, be the glue to put everybody together in community. Meredith has been a fierce defender of community, and Jendra, you too. I mean, you're everywhere, and you know, a lot of you on this call I know, and you know, you're constantly, you know, bringing everybody together, which is so important. I guess I'll just tell one quick story. So when I chaired the first HPA Awards, which is for post-production. But when we were starting it, I felt very strongly that, you know, production is a collaborative process, and you know, everybody, you know, is a contributor, and it's a collaboration. And even though the awards themselves were for post-production, we reached out to the ASC, we reached out to the ICG, we reached out to ACE, we reached out to all the other organizations, and we told them what we wanted to do, and we got them involved. And every year, cinematographers come to the event and present the color grading award, for example, and, you know, things like that. And it's been, you know, one of the things that I'm really happy about with that event is that it has brought the community together in maybe you know, another way. I mean, the community was already very close, but it was nice to see another way that, you know, different, you know, departments, so to speak, can come together. But I think everybody here does that in a lot of ways. I think we're all really committed to the sense of community that we have.
I feel like I want to hear from Meredith next, since we were both talking about her.
Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn. I feel like you're my secret sister that I've had for like almost 30 years. I feel like I have a lot of sort of communities that cross over. So there's my cinematographers whom I adore and who I represent, and there's always been my drive to elevate women cinematographers who traditionally were not included in the conversation. And I think both Carolyn and I remember back 20 years ago, and we would struggle to find stories about women, and we would really Carolyn has been such an incredible supporter of women. And you know, Rachel Morrison's Oscar nomination, that historic one, probably wouldn't have happened without Caroline breaking the story that she was the first woman to be nominated. And you know, so my communities, I have a community of DPs, I have a community of journalists whom I admire. My degree is in communication studies and journalism, so I'm an obsessive reader. That my happy place is curled up in bed, reading the trades, reading great authors, and communicating with my journalist friends, whom just following the stories of the day and celebrating the community is really just, it makes me feel connected, because I live on a 36-acre property out in the bush where I can't see any other humans. I spend several months in America every year and a month in London being social, but the rest of the time I'm buried, you know, keeping everything at distance and just thinking and communicating long range. And so my circle of journalist friends are incredibly important. Also, my publicist colleagues. I'm a member of the International Cinematographers Guild as a publicist. I'm part of their formal mentoring program where for the last 3 years I've mentored a young studio publicist. I think, I do a lot of advocating within the publicist world to recognize personal publicists, agency publicists, not just studio publicists, because we independent publicists are the ones fighting for you guys to get your stories told, and the journalists who that community uplifts as well. So the fact that this Women in Cinematography global sort of super community has come together is something I'm really personally proud of. And I'm just want to see where it goes, because I think we can accomplish amazing things together, particularly if, as women, we're working and recognizing that it's not just the cinematographers telling the stories. It's the publicists, it's the journalists, it's the people like Vika, who works with a manufacturer, so all of the women who are involved in the community, whether you're a DP or not, I feel have equal contribution. And we need to celebrate all of those people, because we're sisters, we support each other. So that's my feeling about community. And it keeps me sane when I'm living in the bush with a man.
With a man.
Can I just add to that? Because when you mentioned Rachel, I mean, that was all Rachel. And every, female cinematographer has earned every recognition and very, very deserving. But Meredith, that year especially, I mean, I think you and I were on the phone every day. She worked tirelessly to, to raise awareness of Rachel and before and since, to do of that. And what Meredith said is so true. It's everyone in publicity and, other cinematographers and just everyone across the board. I think there is such a strong sense of community and everybody celebrates each other, which is fantastic.
The men that support us as well, we can't dismiss them. There are a lot of incredibly important and wonderful men, like my husband, who trails around the world, making sure I'm fed, and that are actually making a contribution.
And it's really great to see so many men on this Zoom today that wanted to show up and hear this conversation. And I want to encourage the men to participate in the chat. I mean, I've been to many events that were women's events, and then heard from the men that they didn't feel comfortable speaking because they didn't want to take up space or, hog the conversation. And I think, the fact that you showed up here, that you care enough about hearing from all these women means a lot to us, that you are welcome. And we do want to hear from you as well. So please don't be shy for being an active part of this community of conversation. So thank you. Since we're talking so much about right now about the community at large, that's not just the individual cinematographers, I'd love to hear next from Amber, the agent on our panel, because Carolyn and Meredith are talking so much about supporting cinematographers, advocating for cinematographers, advocating for women cinematographers, amplifying our work, drawing attention to our work, and that's specifically part of what an agent does. So I'd love to hear about your relationship to community, Amber, as well as any comments that you have about your job and your role in this community.
Yeah, very happy to talk about that. So I think I started doing this like 13 years ago or something, and I started at WPA in 2012, and it's kind of been incredible to see the community around women in cinematography grow, and just how, I was so impressed with the response globally this year. We don't have to get into it, but just again, the sort of the banding together, the discussions, and I do think it ignited something that you know, inside all of us. So I already made a point when submitting for projects, when people, you know, come looking for suggestions for jobs, that I do submit with parity in mind, that it is like women and men together, as many women submitted as men, and I pushed, and I just do my part, however small. And I think that, yeah, it's what we have to do, because in fact, no one else is going to do it. You know, that I'm on the front lines, I feel like, so like I have to do, yeah, my part. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. But I think as well, when sort of we're talking about promoting women in cinematography, just like women cinematographers, I do think that there is an idea that like a strong public image, and just that was one of the questions you mentioned, we had, was how to build a strong public image and get noticed. And I do think that takes time to build a strong one. So like for me, I try to prioritize having our clients working with directors and producers with whom, you know, I know they're going to build long-term success and can work with many times over. So on occasion, that has meant that maybe somebody takes a middle or later block of a TV show, or instead of leading a TV show, which would kind of, I think, go against what I think some advice would tell you, is like, oh, you should shoot features and you should definitely lead TV shows. But if you look at the most, I guess you would call them successful people in the industry, you know, they've worked with their directors so many times, and they may have started working together in shorts. And that was truly something I had to learn when I moved to the UK, was just like the US doesn't value short films in the same way that, say, the UK and Europe does. Because in the US, you could go and shoot a short film. You could shoot a director, all of their short films, and the second they get their first crack at a feature, the producers insist on hiring somebody who's shot a lot of films before, and you as a cinematographer, like, but you've hired this director, I've shot everything for them, why don't you bring me with you? I don't think the same thing applies in other places. Like in the UK, I see this happen a lot, where they will allow, you know, the cinematographer to follow and shoot the director's first film with them. So I do value those things a lot. I don't consider small work to be less than. I still think it's all really valuable, not just for your own careers, but for the community at large. So I think that for me, yeah, promoting women is like considering everything, not just the biggest projects of the year.
Well, we've only got about 20 minutes left. Before I want a few other questions and to leave time for audience Q&A. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to say about community before we yeah, Ellen?
I'm gonna jump in. I'll try to squeeze it very, very short, which I'm not very good at, but let's try. So I've been thinking about this, the role of a community and different communities that I have. And I think one thing about community is it helps you to carry the load of something which is maybe too big for you to carry it alone. When we started together with Nina Kellgren, the Imago Diversity and the Inclusion Committee in 2016, and we joined forces with Illuminatrix to organize the first ever diversity event that we had in camera image. We thought it was a small thing. We never really, we just thought it's something that has to be done. But my attitude back then was quite different, and I think many minority cinematographers have it. It was 10 years ago, so it's a different time, but it felt like I don't want to talk about this woman thing. I just want to be a cinematographer. I just don't want to, I want this to be a non-topic. And I used to go around with this idea all the time, thinking that it's a non-topic. I'm not going to engage with this topic. I'm just a cinematographer. I'm just Elen. But then there was a moment where I was accidentally forwarded a correspondence. There was an online campaign asking for people to send images of female cinematographers that inspire them. And somebody got in touch with me from that campaign and said, "You have been recommended." And I saw a letter, the original letter where I was recommended, and it was a girl who used to study with me. She was my student. And she wrote in that letter, "Here in Estonia, we don't have anyone else than Elen to look up to." And this was, for me, it was an absolutely life-changing moment, because I understood that even if I don't do anything about it, just by the fact that I exist, people can maybe consider this as a job or as a future. And later on, my students entering film school have said, girls have said that I was an extra on a film shoot and I saw a woman behind the camera, and that's where I thought I can also do it, and that was me. So at some point I understood that even if I don't do anything, then why not do something about it? Because I have understood now that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, and I have started to take it very seriously. But rolling back to 2016, when we organized the event, we felt very small and alone, and it felt like just such a little drop in the ocean. And now this summer, when the women in cinematography suddenly started growing, and Aga got in touch with me and said that event in 2016 had been has its role in this snowball that started growing. I understood that sometimes it's a like I had felt that it's too much for me to carry, and then you don't even know that somebody somewhere on the other side of the earth has taken part of the load on their shoulders, and this just starts growing and growing and growing. And when it exploded this summer in this huge resonance that started with the women in cinematography, I remember that was one in our first panel. What we said is, and I'm so happy Nancy is here. Nancy was also on our first panel, and I also see Anna here, who is who I have mentored through a mentorship scheme. So it's so beautiful to see that this connection just keeps growing and growing. So it's like you throw a stone in the water and you forget about it, but then the rings just start getting bigger and bigger. And I also think community is something where you're seen for who you are. So my community is also my crew, and my crew has supported me so much. I would be nowhere without my crew. My focus puller, he's older than my father, and he has always supported me. He has never looked at me differently because of me being a girl or whatever. And I remember there was a moment I was expecting my second child. So we're shooting a feature in August, but we're also supposed to shoot part of it in November. So I went to him. We were doing the equipment list, and I went to him and said, "Sorry, Rain, I have to tell you something that right now it's you don't know it yet, but I'm pregnant. So in November I'm gonna have a very big belly when we're shooting." And he didn't even bat an eye. He just said, "Oh, okay, then we need to have a long eyepiece," and wrote it down. So for him, it was the only, and it was such a relief to me, because I understood that for him, it's just a little practical problem. So it's not the thing that we start talking about. So throughout this road of advocacy, or however we call it, I have understood that you can do things without making it a central central topic, because when we organize panels, first panel in camera image, second panel in camera image, many of our panelists said, "Why do we have to sit in a gender panel? Why aren't our films in the competition program?" So of course, I really understand people who feel it. I feel the same, and but I have understood that community helps you to kind of bridge and have a compromise between actually being a cinematographer, having this as a having yourself and your personality as the central object of your your everyday actions, but you can still try to change the world. Otherwise, what's the point?
Ellen, I want to read something that is in the chat that just really, really moved me from Rachel Clark from the UK. She said, I was there in 2016 at the Imago Illuminatrix panel, and I was a second AC, and I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to become a DP. It inspired me so much, and I'm now a member of the BSC. Never underestimate the power of throwing a small stone in a very big pond. It will make a ripple somewhere. So I know Rachel, I admire Rachel's work, and you know, to hear, you know, that was only 9 years ago now, which in a way is a long time, in a way is a short time. But you know, I think it's important to remember, you know, that we are role models, whether we chose to be or not, and to accept that responsibility instead of running away from it can have a bigger impact, and that you never know what kind of impact that you're having on other people, and sometimes it can come back to you many, many years later. So wow, I want to move I want to move on to audience Q&A, but you know, I want to keep my promise to the panelists of all the questions that I prepped them in our pre-interviews. You know, is there anything else that any of you felt that you wanted to say or add, not just about community, but about anything, either questions that you wanted to ask of the other panelists or things that you didn't get to talk about in the brief time that we've had together? Maria.
So I just want to share that in Mexico, like 10 years ago, we made this group of women cinematographers, and we named it Apertura, thanks to Sandra de Silva, who's the president right now. And we really, really never thought it would have an impact. But like, we thought like, okay, we need to be seen. What do we do? Let's just make a group. And truly, it has changed a lot how the community receives cinematographers. We have a lot of trainees and mentorships and master classes, and really, really, it surprises. I mean, I'm very shocked of the reach it had, because right now I think we have all of us. We were 7 when we started. Now we are 63. It really, really showed the work of cinematographers, of women cinematographers. And I think that we are a closer community because we know, like, we recognize each other. And sometimes you don't know that it's gonna work out. No, but you have to do it. Like sometimes you don't even imagine how far you can go. Sorry, my dogs are here all running, so I don't know if you can hear that. But yeah, I mean, you have to do it. Doesn't matter what happens.
Amazing. Anyone else wanted to add anything before we open up to audience Q&A? Ava?
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of thinking about something that Ellen said. And I guess it's something that is on my mind quite a bit. You know, I guess maybe it's okay to say this, but you know, Rachel Morrison was my mentor early on. And I know she's someone that really does believe that she just wants to be considered a cinematographer first and foremost, you know. And I think I really respect that. And I think that deep down I want to believe that, you know, that I just want to be seen as a cinematographer, like before anything else. But I don't know. I also feel like most women or like people of color don't have that benefit, you know. I just don't think that you're going to get the same pass that maybe like a normal like cis white guy would get on shooting projects. I think there's always that little asterisk. And you know, maybe that's just me being a little bit negative about the world, but you know, beyond that, I really think more deeply about, you know, like, you know, one of the questions was like, which cinematographer are we really inspired by or look up to? And like Bradford Young is just like my favorite cinematographer ever. Obviously he makes beautiful images, but I really think you know, if you ever hear him talk about like how he thinks about imagery and visual language, it's really interesting because a lot of it comes out of a really deep understanding for like himself and ancestry, and like finding the things that are really special and unique and powerful about that. And so when I was like, you know, starting to study cinematography, I was mostly reading like ASC magazine and stuff like that, and old like forums, you know, like David Mullen forums and stuff.
Yes, those David Mullen forums.
Yeah.
Thank you, David Mullen. Talk about community. Wow, has that guy done so much
into it.
But yeah, but really, like, you know, I think the stuff that Bradford says about like, you know, like the things that shape his voice, I think made me think a lot about like, what are the things that are unique and special about me? You know, like when I'm interviewing for a job, you know, say like a feature or whatever, where you have time to talk about yourself, like, you know, what is it that like about my perspective specifically that has shifted the way that I see imagery and I see visual language and I interpret art and the way I interpret the world? Because I even think on a top level, like, you know, the best like male DPs out there, they have really strong perspectives regardless. Like if you hear Ed Lotman talk about the way he shoots a movie, it's like it like blows your brain open. It's so insanely cool, you know, the way he thinks about things. So I really think that, you know, even if we just want to be considered a cinematographer first and foremost, I think that it's also maybe taking a little bit of the power out of what you can offer to yourself or to other people, to maybe make your images stronger. Because I do think that like when I think about images I'm really affected by deeply, it's like Bradford Young, Chase Irvin, like those are people whose imagery I just like return to over and over again. And if you hear them talk about their work, it is like so deep and rich with ideas, you know? And I think that like that's something that you can do by like thinking and talking about who you are too, you know?
Absolutely. Like the two people I love to hear most talk about their process is Bradford and Jomo Frey.
Yeah,
Both,
Yeah.
both,
Oh,
yeah, both two Black men. So I think that you're right that our uniqueness, you know, our individual perspective and the fact that, you know, we are women, we are Black, we are trans is what brings us a lived experience and a perspective to bring forth to our art, to make our art unique. And when I've been shooting for 30 years, and when I started out, I was just trying to ignore the fact that I was a woman in terms of trying to be taken seriously as a DP. And it was when I shifted is when I came up with my Rosie the Riveter image that you know goes viral every International Women's Day. I got the t-shirt on. But you know, it was when I started embracing the fact that I am a woman and that is what makes me unique. That is where this image came from. And this image, I want to talk, you know, I don't want to make it about me because I see this image is not about me. Just to wrap things up, that this image goes viral every International Women's Day. I meet people who know this image without realizing that it's me, without realizing it's a photograph, without realizing it's an actual DP and not, you know, a model or whatnot. And I mean, there's a guy in Australia who's I've never met who has this image as a tattoo. You know, he doesn't know me. It's not about me. You know, this image has taken on a life of its own because of what it means. And part of why I volunteered to host this panel today, you know, this panel was not my idea. This panel was the idea of Aga that we've been talking about, Agnieszka from Women in Cinematography, that part of why I volunteered to do it is because this image going viral internationally every International Women's Day has made me paying attention to International Women's Day. I put International Women's Day on my calendar, and I, you know, engage with all of the sharing and comments and inspiration that comes up you know, every year. And I'm going to move us to Q&A next. And I first want to, you know, so start getting your questions ready. I want to start when we open it up to the rest of the community. I want to start by hearing from the people that are representing other organizations that you want to come on and tell us about your organization. And before we do that, you know, I just want to see if any of the panelists, I see you, Meredith, we're going to go to you next before we go open, but, you know, please drop in the chat, how can we stay in touch with each of you and follow your work, panelists specifically, but of course the rest of you that want to do that as well. What, you know, your website, your Instagram, do you want people to email you? You know, how do you, you know, a lot of people have gotten to a very small taste here today of how amazing and wonderful you are and might want to keep up with you and keep up with your career in the future. So please drop in the chat how to stay in touch. Meredith.
Jendra, I have to take my earphone out or I hear double. Two things, a little housekeeping thing. Anybody who wants to join the Women in Cinematography group, you're welcome to do so by emailing womenincinematography@gmail.com. We do ask people to sign an NDA to become a member of our group because, you know, there are a lot of intimate conversations and that go on. And I want to read something that Aga posted in one of our groups this past week, which just, it was why she's my spirit animal and what inspired me to become really passionate about women in cinematography. So she posted, beyond the artistry and inspiration, women are incredible at supporting each other. There's something truly special about the way we lift one another up in an industry that often feels isolating. We find strength in sisterhood and the unspoken bond of knowing what it takes to carve out space where we belong. We are each other's champions, mentors, and safe havens. We celebrate victories, no matter how small. We catch each other when we fall. We offer advice, we pass on opportunities, and we remind each other of our worth when doubt creeps in. Happy International Women's Day. The sense of being together kept me going last year. I have so much love and respect for you all. And that's been a sentiment that has driven our group right from its inception, that we are there for each other and we will continue to build upon what has been created. So and it's been a particularly hard couple of years in the industry because of strikes and the ongoing contraction. So I think more, you know, apart from Trump, just the world industry, the filmmaking industry, we need to stand together to support each other because it's not going to be like just after the pandemic when everything was going like great guns. We've still got a few tough years ahead of us. And so standing strong together makes it a lot easier. That's it. Thank you for those great words, Aga.
Yes. Vika, I want to end with you. Do you mind if I call on Ellen next, or did you want to go first? Okay. Ellen?
Okay, I'll just very quickly, I'll try to, jumping off from what Ava said, there was a moment that I think in a way changed my understanding of myself. I was a very young cinematographer. I think, just graduated university and I was kind of lost. Being lost also came from the fact that when I looked around, I just saw, when I looked around at cinematographers in Estonia, I only saw middle-aged white men and I didn't see myself there. Plus, there is a unique trait to Estonian men. They say like one word a year, and I was super loud. and there was a time early in my career where I felt that I tried to be something that I'm not, and it was something that I had to do in order to be a cinematographer. So during an event in Berlin, Berlinale Talents, I met Chris Doyle, who allowed me to apprentice at his shoot in Thailand. And one of the things that I think I understood when I was observing him, you can think anything you want about Chris, but he's a very idiosyncratic person. So he's not your typical cinematographer. And when I observed him working, I understood really that there is just only one thing in the world that I can be the best, and it's being me. Everything else, probably somebody else can do better, but being me is my best specialization. And for sure, this is something that I can do the best. So I kind of committed to this idea. And I'm not saying that you just have to be like unapologetic, but it's rather just going where your heart tells you to go. And interestingly, everything that I thought that was wrong about me, that I felt that I have to change to be a cinematographer, being too loud or being too curious or whatever, right now when I work, I understand that it's not a bug, it's a feature. Directors who work with me now say this is what they appreciate the most about me, and this is what makes me different from other cinematographers they have worked with. So everything that I thought was wrong is actually what I am, and is actually my feature. So I feel that embracing who you are fully and letting it grow into your uniqueness is actually in the long run the best strategy, because if you try to pretend to be something else, you're going to be disappointed, and the other people will be disappointed who took you for something else. And second, very, very quick note is I have also noticed that when women come into conversation, the topics change. We had Jendra, you remember, we had the panel in Camera Image some years ago about work-life balance. It was a very touching panel, and people cried in the audience and in the panel. We had an option for asking questions through an app on a screen, and I saw that many of the questions came from men. And I understood that these are the topics that in like regular full white male cinematography panel never even get brought up, because everybody has to talk about lenses and I don't know, look do the cinematographer thing. But the moment we had women in the room, we started speaking about how to survive this industry and practical tips how to live with the decisions that you have to live. And there was a moment after the panel, there was a party, and the man came up to me and he said he had been talking to his wife for 10 years about whether they should have kids or not. And after this panel, he called his wife and said, "Let's do it." So I think there is something when women come into conversation that actually men also benefit from greatly.
Yes. Awesome. Sade, real quick, we're really over, and I got a whole bunch of other people to call on. I can't let us keep going, but I don't want to deny you.
Okay. All good. I think just riffing off of what everyone was saying is like, I just love what you guys are talking about, like finding your strong suit and moving in that. And then I think just bringing it back to community too, is like the community gives back what you put in. And so for me, when I was coming up, I think if I could go back in time, the biggest thing would be like just putting myself out there much more, because now I know like there's all these great spaces for us, curated for us, organized by us, and even just creating relationships with rental houses too, like knowing as a young woman coming up in camera that you can reach out to these camera vendors and go lens test and get your hands on the gear, and all these things are accessible. It's just putting yourself out there. And so I just love how we're ending on a note with just affirmations for the next generation and how you can really put yourself out there and get involved with community as well.
Great. And we can keep the conversation going, but I need to move it in a certain direction. You can definitely say more in the next parts of the conversation, but I know certain people have to go. Just remind you all, if you want to keep involved in the conversation, you can follow Women in Cinematography on Instagram. That we don't have a website yet. Oops, that was not what I meant to post in the chat right there. Delete. I wish I could take that back. Okay. I wanted to post the, can we have one more time the Women in Cinematography link? If you can post that one more time, Shauna, of following Women in Cinematography on Instagram is the best way to keep in touch with us for now. And I want to shout out Nancy Schrieber, who is in the audience, has been very active in the chat, is probably a role model to all of us, was definitely my first role model, was the first woman DP that I'd ever heard about, you know, back when I was in high school, and has become a friend of mine, and you know, does so much for the community and is such an advocate and a hero for many of us. And we all love you, Nancy. And you know, if Nancy, if you want to say anything, I'll call on you next. If you want to say hi, raise your hand. But otherwise, Vika, Lulu, I see you. I'm going to come to you next as well. I'm very excited to introduce you to Lulu. And Vika, did you want to say any closing remarks?
I just want to do some little bit of housekeeping, kind of spin-off of what Meredith started to say about membership. I want to make a few corrections. So if you just want to follow us and know what we're up to, you can follow us on Instagram. You can also send an email to womenincinematography@gmail.com and just say, please add me to the email list, and we will add you, and you'll see every sort of all the activities that we're doing. If you want to become a member, in addition to NDA, there's also, we're not looking for we're looking for members that want to participate and actually actively participate in doing things. So not just joining the group to stay up to date. That's what email list is for and Instagram is for. But if you think you can contribute in some ways, we're desperately looking for more help with social media, with website. We're also looking for help with outreach to vendors, because we need to start doing a little bit of fundraising, because you have to understand all of this evolved very unexpectedly. None of us started out saying, let's build a collective of women organizations all over the world and do something with it. It evolved into that. So a lot of us are kind of catching up and trying to get organized and sort of create a structure. And some of these things require, not some, all of these things require manpower, finance, money, and expertise. So we're looking for all three of those things. And there's few organizations. I saw in the chat, there are some interesting organizations. There's one called We Just Want to Load Trucks, which I love. Girls Just Want to Load Trucks.
Lulu, we're going to call Lulu next.
Yes,
so anyone,
I love the name. And and also there's another one called 600 Black Women. So if you want to be part of the collective, that's a little bit different than being a member. If you just want to be part of a collective and be part of this community we created, all we basically ask is an email with your logo, and we will add you to our website, and it would link directly to your website or your Instagram page. And like I said, right now we have over 52, hopefully I'm not wrong, organizations. That includes about 27 or 28 official societies of the world, including British Society, American Society, and Spanish and French, and every ASC, BSc, CSC, every letter of the alphabet, we have it. In addition to some vendors that are our sort of companies that have supported us, and also other collectives that are nonprofits like Women Behind Camera, Illuminatrix, and then of course Imago, Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and Imago Federation as well. So those are the two sort of separate things. One is just be part of the collective as an organization. The other one is membership, which we're still sort of trying to structure what that looks like. And right now we're just looking for participating membership. And to stay in touch, there's other ways via email and Instagram. But otherwise, this was amazing. The turnout is blowing my mind. I'm reading all the comments, and I'm just very, very, very happy. This made me very happy. And I am gonna step out because it's like almost 11 o'clock where I am.
Yes,
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And please stick around if you're willing and able. We'll keep chatting as long as we can for now. And someone was asking, this has been recorded. We do intend to share it somewhere at some point. We don't know exactly where yet, but one of the things of, following the Women in Cinematography on Instagram, once it's ready to be shared somewhere, that would be, for example, be somewhere where we would share the information of where you can find this. So I'm going to do two things next. So one of them is having different organizations that are present introduce themselves, and then also audience Q&A. So for Q&A, you can drop questions in the chat. You don't have to direct them directly to Shauna anymore, because I'll be paying attention now to the chat as well, and other people can answer in the chat. And if it's something that you want to say personally or speak directly and not in the chat, you can raise your hand and we will call on you as well. So Lulu, you want to tell us about how we found you today and what your group is all about?
Yeah, I have to give thanks to thank you for calling on me. I have to give thanks to Luisa for filling me in on this meeting. I didn't know about it earlier, maybe like 30 minutes or an hour beforehand. I'm actually about to go load a truck right now. But yeah, we are an organization that is representing women and femmes and underrepresented communities in grip and electric. I myself am a grip in New York City, and I came up not through film school, but through Local 52 and a lot of like what I call old head grips who taught me and passed on. And like a lot of y'all, you know, they took a chance on me and were willing to teach me. And a huge thing for me is providing free accessible resources. I come from a small border town that there's no, network of film or cinematography. That's not even a career option for a lot of folks there. So it's really important to me that it's free, that it's accessible, that it's not, six-figure tuition to go and learn this stuff, and that it's not gate kept. And also to have a space in which, particularly in grip and electric, and for me, obviously being a grip, to have conversation about how navigating what it's like to work these trucks, what it's like. It's, it's really, I would say, one of the hardest departments, grip particularly, for women to be in. And there's, I could go on and on about all the experiences that are really difficult, but I'm really proud of us coming together. And we've just started recently, about probably less than a month ago. And yeah, we're ever growing. You can find us on Instagram on Girls Just Want to Load Trucks. Trying to think if I'm missing anything else. My two other co-founders are Kelly Ortiz and Nika Fazio, two wonderful electrics. Yeah, and please stay tuned. There's more upcoming. We're doing workshops, and we would love to collaborate with a lot of folks of just, again, sharing education and networking. But that's all that I have to say. I do have to go load a truck,
Awesome.
y'all.
Well,
So
thank you for attending. Thank you
y'all.
for telling us about your group. And Louisa will put you and I at least directly in touch, and we can talk further about
Amazing.
how to. Awesome.
Amazing. All right, y'all take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Nancy Schrieber, will you grace us with your presence on camera?
Oh, thank you so much, Jendra, and everyone on this panel. A little choked up. I never thought when I started, I've been in the union, one union, then we all merged because things were not good in our unions here for a long time, for 50 years. It's crazy, huh? Ellen said something about her starting and just trying to not pay attention to the fact that we are different. And I have to say that happened with me as an electrician, working my way up to Gaffer, New York. And the men, they hired us, and they are our friends. And I'm glad that is being brought out here. And I know there's been some pushback here about white men feeling pushed out. Listen, we all feel pushed out right now. Yeah, everything has been shrinking. I'm of a certain age. I'm not done. We just have to find new ways of expressing ourselves and making our own product, films and art, and we will survive. I love that women in cinematography can be this clearinghouse for all the organizations. I must belong to 8 women's groups, and it's really important that we do come together and have a voice. Just together, we are stronger. And I'm really choked up. I just never thought something like this would be possible in my lifetime, because there were struggles. I had the blinders on, but all of you, you're here. You don't give up. because you're passionate and you don't know any other way except to have that balanced life. Don't forget that. So thanks. And this was just great. Probably
Thank
gonna
you.
cry now.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for inspiring us all for so many years. And thank you for being a great friend. Do we have anyone from any other organizations that wants to tell us about their organization? If so, please raise your hand so you come to the top of the line and we can see you to call on you. Boyana.
Yeah, Boyana, from my rich experience, I just want to second Vika and say it's not necessary that we are all active. Supporters are there too, but you have to be somehow honest and say if you're a supporter or you're an activist. And if you're a supporter, you can find many channels to read, to go in a conversation or anything. But if you're an activist, there is really a community, a load of community work that needs to be done for making all of these last many years. So, and it is normal. We all put our work in the first place, and it's really normal. Many of us are really active cinematographers, shooting all the time and during the night, replying on emails. And what is wonderful about Women in Cinematography is that we cover all time zones. So at some point we were like waking up because Meredith was in Australia, I was in Singapore at the time, and then we had this night shift, and then we moved to European shift, and then we moved all around, and it's a circle, and it's really, really, really nice to have that community. And in case you have any problem, you know that you have your communities back. So this is only what I wanted to second Vika about being supporter or being an activist. And I think all is fine. We're all different, and whatever drives you.
And you can ebb and flow. I get busy sometimes. I don't have the energy to be an activist, and I fall into supporter mode, and then I get inspired and motivated or have more free time and jump back into activist mode. Yeah, me prepping for this panel and wanting to have a pre-interview with all of the panelists, meant I was getting up very early and staying up very late to have phone calls on different time zones. Pooja, what time is it for you right now? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, it's 3:20 in the morning.
So night shift for Pooja.
Thank you for staying up to talk to us, Pooja, especially since, we did our best to pick a time that would hit the most countries in the world, and unfortunately that ended up incompatible with most of Asia. So we recognize that you're here today, even without most of your local community getting to attend and listen in, and that you're here for, the rest of us to expose us to your community. So hopefully we can get some other
Yeah, but I saw three of the girls here.
Yeah, we have some more.
Shwet Priya, she's a very young, talented cinematographer from the country. She's just won some awards. And then I saw Sanjana, who was in the last workshop that I did for the festival. And
that's amazing.
One more person. But yeah, I mean, this is me time right now after the whole days of work and a 4-year-old at home. So I'm usually up this late when I'm working. So or preparing for a film. So it's all good.
And I'm learning in the chat that Erica, the president of the Australian Cinematographer Society, is up at 7 a.m. To join us, and that Shelley Johnson, president of the ASC, is here. Any other organizations want to say hello, or anyone joining from India or Asia want to say hello for your dedication for staying up till 3 a.m. to be part of this conversation. All right, any questions then? Any audience questions for the panelists or for the other, people around the world who are joining us? This does not have to be panelist centric anymore. Boyana, you have more to say.
Yeah, it was amazing. Actually, being in Imago, meeting all these people around around the world in these different countries, everyone has some cultural specifics for each country. But what was amazing is Pooja arriving in Serbia and meeting with me in Serbia. Then we sat for a coffee, and then we are almost the same age. And then she said, it was like this in India. I said, oh, it's the same in Serbia. And she said, it happened to me like this. And I said, oh, it happened to me like this as well. And then you can see that actually all around the world, in a different part of the world, we are sometimes dealing with the same things. And it was really touching and moving when two of us get together and realize it's sometimes it's the same thing. And this is why community is important, that this sharing and getting the experiences from each other. So Pooja, I loved our conversation in Serbia.
Yeah, I cherish that one because, you know, I met Boyana, and then I used to do a lot of work for Indian Women Cinematographers Collective. I was completely inactive because COVID, I was pregnant, and I didn't want to then jump into anything too much. But when I met Boyana, and I felt that, you know, I should be again actively working. And that's how last 4 years have been. And I've been working for IWCC, Indian Women Cinematographers Collective, a lot. I recently got invited to Indian Cinematographer Society. But what this has done has also opened a lot of doors. Just, you know, the local vendors in India have been helping me a lot to put this festival together. So yeah, it's just incredible how community works.
Amazing. Zoe Durst, CSC.
Sorry, so many of us got to meet each other in person at Manaki Brothers last year, and that was a really incredible meeting of women that sort of sparked it off more.
Yes. Zoe, did you want to say anything on camera? You had your hand raised and then took it down. Is it Zoe or Zoe? Okay, I guess not. All right, Ellen.
I wanted to reflect a little bit upon this global phenomenon, and just to give some perspective and maybe make us think about the importance of what we're doing here, is that if we really think about this era where humanity has never ever experienced this huge cataclysmic change. People have never been so connected globally ever in the history of humankind. We have always been separated in our different geographic or cultural communities, and the cataclysmic changes that this brings about, it brings everything that, when we look back at the last 5 years or even last 10 years, there have been so many things that have been changing or like shaking the whole world. And the reason why they have been shaking the whole world is that we have become so global. If we talk about COVID spreading so wide everywhere in the world, is because people are traveling so much. If we speak about all kinds of theory, like paranoia theories spreading in the internet, it's the same, because everything is so connected. Everybody is so connected, completely unprecedented connectedness. But what also comes out of it is, I remember when COVID started, I felt, as I have mentioned, my parents are biologists and nature conservationists. So I grew up in a family being completely depressed about the state of nature. And when I grew up, it felt just like a weird hobby because nobody really cared. And it felt like the challenges that we face with the climate currently, it felt like too big of an issue. It's too big. We can't solve it. It's too big. It's global. And then what happened when COVID started, I understood that, hey, actually humans can just agree on something all over the world and fix a problem that at some point felt like it's going to end our world. And now, 5 years down the road, it's a problem that we solved. We figured it out. So I believe that when really actually we bring together people from all the time zones and we agree on what needs to be done, it actually can be done, and it's not so complicated. So when we held the first panels in camera image, we kept saying, please create your please create more of those female cinematographers collectives, minority cinematographers collectives all over the world, so that they could grow into something global. And when Women in Cinematography happened this summer, I was like, okay, finally, now this is the global voice of this topic. If we just come together and agree how to fix it, we'll fix it.
I got a Q&A question sent my way about mentorship. You know, how do those who mentor people begin mentoring their mentees? And I'm going to assume something that's behind the question is, how do you find mentees or choose mentees, or how do potential mentees find you to get on your radar to be mentored by you? How does someone develop a mentor relationship?
Can I answer that first?
Yes, please.
So I went to a film school, and film schools usually, you know, have this alumni, and you know, you end up calling the alumni from your film school. And I was lucky enough. I was 23 when I came out of the film school, and I started assisting my mentor, Mr. Kiran Devans. He's shot very big films here. And I was lucky that I was on his team, and I was just interned in a second AC and first AC, and here the AC terms are different. Like first AC is not the focus puller, but you know, the one who handles lighting with the gaffer. And there's a separate focus puller, but I did full focus for him. Then I started operating for him, and just recently he produced a film which I shot for him, and he's had a career span of 40-45 years, and I feel incredibly lucky that, you know, I have a mentor who has, you know, sort of always encouraged, being my cheerleader. And now I've been mentoring a mentee in ISC, and then so many people write to me saying that, you know, we would like to assist you. Or I always feel getting a good mentor and then giving it back when you have one is so important. Otherwise, this whole system of, you know, nurturing the talent and getting nurtured is not going to exist. So I really hope that we have more people. And I mean, yes, you know, some point you feel you're a woman cinematographer, and yes, you know, there's a disparity, and yes, and all that. But at the same time, when I was working with my mentor, I never felt that. And the people who I work with, I never feel that. I always say that, you know, it's people who you don't end up working with, or who don't give you the chance to work with. So I think that's where we need to work on, or rather they need to work on. Mentorship, I think, is incredible if you get the right mentor, and it's great if you can be an incredible mentor.
And there are a few formal mentorship programs that are, you know, that you can enter, that are, you know, that have a yearly cycle when they are open for applications. The ASC Vision Committee has a mentorship program that I believe Cynthia Pushek, who is one of the chairs of the Vision Committee, dropped in the chat. You can go to the ASC Vision Committee webpage to find out about when the next cycle for that is happening, and I believe that's become more worldwide. If someone correct me if I'm mistaken, that you can connect with your mentors over Zoom. You don't have to be in the same city as your mentor. Local 600, if you're a member of the Camera Union, has a mentorship program. Sade, you know, is involved in a mentorship program that's specific for the Black community. If I'm not mistaken in how I'm describing that. If you want to say more, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I know you've talked about that a lot already. So there are, you know, a few formalized mentorship programs. But if anyone else wants to talk about how they've connected with mentees sort of organically, or, you know, people that you've met along the way, I have some more that I can say about that as well, because I have mentored individuals, and I have been mentored by other individuals that have been sort of organic relationships that, you know, we found our way to each other. Anyone else have anything that's helpful to say about how to find a mentor? Or
I think just talking about tangible resources, I'm always about like, how can I leave the people with some next steps? But I dropped some incredible mentorship programs in the chat as well. But definitely want to shout out 600 Black Women that's been doing the work. They've organized workshops in Atlanta and New York and LA, and they've just been worldwide and making it more specifically curated for Black women behind the camera. And when it comes to how I find mentees, it's either usually through programs, but a lot of people just happen to reach out via email or Instagram. And a lot of DPs, even that I look up to, have offered the same thing down to me too, because everyone is actively trying to cultivate space and help the next person out. So if there is a cinematographer that you really admire, that you would love to receive mentorship from, I highly encourage just to reach out, and you just never know, even if it's a cup of coffee or they can actually do a long-term mentorship. Just having those accessible resources are super helpful. And I also see Michelle Crenshaw in the chat, incredible operator and cinematographer. She's been a great resource for me, specifically as a Black woman DP. Kira Kelly, Sibel Martin, all those folks have really offered up their mentorship, which has been invaluable for sure.
Sometimes I just get a random message on Instagram by somebody that I don't know, who doesn't say anything about themselves. And they're like, can I work with you? Will you mentor me? And it's like, I've gotten so many of those that are like, so frankly, disrespectful that I don't even answer those people. Whereas I'm the kind of person who almost answers everybody who messages me. So I think it's obvious that if you are reaching out to someone that you, are not act entitled about it, that you expect that if someone's mentoring you, that you're asking them to take a vested interest in your development and put their energy in your direction. So that's like very generous for someone to do. So that relationship needs to be, nurtured and built upon, and maybe get to know somebody over time, and that they get to trust you and also see that you are someone that they believe in. Anyone who you might find out there who is working successfully enough to be on your radar probably has a lot of people vying for their attention. So for them to put attention in your direction, I see a lot of people nodding on the panel. They're basically selecting you. They're selecting you to invest their energy in. Louisa Madrid is someone who I'm mentoring for a little bit casually from time to time, who, I met because, I saw her work. She had asked great questions, and I was like, okay, wow, this person, has what it takes, and it's just a matter of supporting them along the way. And so you do need to sort of prove yourself to the people that you establish relationships with, and maybe slowly over time, you can get the kind of relationship that you can call on them to ask them questions or take a look at something that you're working on to give you feedback and those kinds of things. And anyone else want to say anything more about finding a mentor? Cool, great. Any other questions? Or anyone else want to say anything? Could be your organization, could be questions. Oh, Zoe, there you are.
Sorry, I'm on the street, so it's a little tricky. I just want to say thank you for welcoming into in women in cinematography. For those of you who don't know, I'm the president of the Canadian Society of Cinematographers, and I'm very honored to be in your presence. We do in Canada. We have a mentorship program. Sorry, it's cold here in Montreal right now, and it's open to all members of the CSC, and it's incredibly popular. We get about 150 applicants, and we fill about 60 mentorships twice a year, actually, almost. So that's what I'd like to contribute. And happy International Women's Day.
Yes, happy International Women's Day. All right, anyone else have anything they want to talk about, or should we wind this down, wrap this up?
I can also mention another program because Aga is not here. First Steps. I don't know, did somebody already mention First Steps?
No.
So Aga, who is one of our original founders of Women in Cinematography, she's also a founder of Women Behind Camera, and she's also a founder of a program that she founded with Fabian, and I can't remember the third name. Anyway, it's called First Steps, and that is a program where they take a mentee on the set on a real production, big productions, big movies. Fabian Wagner's brought people on to Game of Thrones and the House of Dragon and Venom, and these are really, really big productions, and they take mentees throughout the whole production on a set with them. It's a selection process. You have to submit an application, and it's for minorities and underrepresented. And it's an amazing program because it gives an opportunity for somebody, and it's at all levels of your career. You could be advanced, you could be a beginner, you could be a student. They screen you and they figure out where to place you and how to place you, but basically you end up working alongside with the camera department throughout the whole project, a big project, which I think is incredible because these kind of opportunities it's impossible to get, especially if you're just starting out, to get on a set of a big budget production and stay there the whole time. And it's something they started where Fabian puts it in his contract, and he gets 10 sometimes people is in a program and places them, and they work the whole time with them. And I just find it the most fascinating how he made it happen and is now sort of demands this before he even accepts a job. And I think we need more people that have that kind of power to do this kind of stuff, where they demand from the producers to give an opportunity to underrepresented. And I'm just in awe of that program. It's called First Steps. Look it up. They have an Instagram page and I think website as well.
Vika, thank you. I think I would just have to join now.
Oh, Ave's here, so she can talk about it.
I just want to say thank you, Vika, for this introduction, for the First Steps. And it's really up to you, cinematographers who meet the production, to introduce the idea. It's like the cost of the mentee is probably one of the smallest costs of the production. And it's really up to you to bring people onto this program. And so if you want any more information, you can find us on Instagram. It's called First Step Cinematography, and we had such wonderful experience with anyone who came on board. And I think, Vika, you said it all really, but I just wanted to say that I think like we need HODs really to help us out. So to all of you there in this call, please help us out. Flash it out to your productions and talk to them about bringing mentees onto the camera department. All of us as a crew will train them, and I think that's it. Sorry, I will go.
Thanks. Ellen?
As we're rounding up, I thought that maybe a thought or an idea about why we need these communities and why we need the support or the idea that keeps you going. There is this word talent that gets thrown around a lot, which I used to hate really, because I think the word talent, it feels like something that has been given to you and you don't really have any control over it. But I became curious, and I looked some time ago, I looked it up in the etymology, where does this word come from? And the root of this word in this Proto-Indo-European synthetic language is tel, which is the same root as in Latin tolerare. So talent actually means not giving up. It doesn't mean that there is something that has been just given to you. Talent means that you don't give up. And if you work long enough, then at some point people will say, "Oh, you're so talented." But it really just means resilience. And I believe that if you're a minority, then very often there are moments in your career where you feel like giving up. And sometimes these moments are crucial. And if you have a community, or if there is something that helps you to get over this bridge of just feeling that I'm not going to make it, you stand up, and you continue, put one step your leg in front of your leg, and then one more step, and at some point people will say, wow, you're so talented.
I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. Just saying.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Happy International Women's Day. And Women in Cinematography will be launching a YouTube channel, and this discussion will be posted there when it's ready. And you can, again, follow Women in Cinematography on Instagram, and we make most of our announcements and such there. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming all over the world. Thank you for sharing space and sharing your wisdom, for contributing, for listening, and for being a part of this amazing international community.
And thank you, Jendra, for moderating it.
Thank you. Thank you for doing it so well.
Okay, my pleasure.